Hello and welcome back Territory family. Hope you all are doing great. Now in this single video, I'm going to discuss with you how do organisms reproduce, the complete chapter. Now what are the things that we are going to talk about is about the reproduction. It's about the mode of asexual reproduction. We will discuss about sexual reproduction in flowering plants and humans, and then we will discuss about reproductive health. So let's get started. And first, we will discuss about what is reproduction. So when we are talking about reproduction, reproduction means the formation of new individuals, right? Now, these new individuals are basically forming by the mode of reproduction. Now, these new individuals which are formed, they can either be identical to their parents or they can be in a varied form from their parents. Now, these two terms which we are using for the offsprings for the formation of new individuals, we are actually saying it on the basis of mode of reproduction. When we are talking about identical copies, it means that we are talking about asexual mode of reproduction. And when we are talking about variations, we are talking about sexual mode of reproduction, right? So this is a general difference between the two mode of reproduction, and till now we are able to understand that the new individuals are formed by the process of reproduction. Now when we are talking about identical copies and variations, these variations are coming from generation to generations, right? Now when these variations are coming from generations to generations, so reproduction with the formation of new individual, it also deals with the evolutionary modifications. It deals with the evolutionary modifications, right? It deals with the variations from one gen to another, one generations to another generation. So these are basically the significance of reproduction, right? Now we will discuss about the mode of asexual reproduction. Now here, I told about the identical copies are formed when there is an asexual mode of reproduction. So these identical copies are actually forming by this mode of reproduction. So asexual reproduction, right? Now we are talking about asexual mode of reproduction. So in this asexual mode of reproduction, they are actually taking place in the living organisms which are also known as single-celled or unicellular organism, which are having very simple form of organization, right? Unicelled animals like amoeba, bacteria, all prokaryotes we can include within them, right? Now when we are talking about asexual mode of reproduction, there are different types of asexual mode of reproduction. These different types are budding, fragmentation, fission, regeneration, and it is spore formation. Now these are basically the methods of asexual reproduction, different methods of asexual reproduction which are taking place in different simple living organisms. Now when we are talking about budding, this takes place in Hydra or yeast. This takes place in Hydra or in yeast. When we are talking about fragmentation, fragmentation actually takes from place in a main parental body. This example is Spirogera. Now the body is in a segmented form. This whole body, if we will cut it from different planes, the whole particular small fragments will grow into the new individual. So this is taking place in Spirogyra, the fragmentation method. The fission. Fission takes place in very different types, like it can be longitudinal, It can be multiple fission. It can be transverse. So these are the different modes of fission. Now when we are talking about longitudinal mode of fission, it is taking place in the leishmania. In multiple fission, it takes place within the plasmodium. Transverse, it takes place in amoeba. And regeneration means the regeneration of the body part, right? This regeneration, it is also occurring in hydra, right? These are the different modes of asexual reproduction that is taking place in simple living organisms. The another example for regeneration is planaria, right? And in spores, the spores are basically formed on the bread molds, and the example is rhizophora. Rhizophora. So these are the examples of asexual mode of reproduction with examples where the identical copies are formed similar to their parents. Now, what is actually happening here? When the identical copies are formed in these organisms, the particular material or the genetic material is getting equally divided within the daughter cells. So, what is happening? The identical copies are formed. Like if we say that in the case of human, there will be the gamete formation. So, the gamete formation and the fusion is not taking place. With flowering plants, the flowering plants are divided in male reproductive parts and female reproductive part. Now the two parts which are male reproductive and female reproductive part are the male part is stamen, which includes anther and filament, which includes anther and filament, the stalk. And the female reproductive part is known as pistil. And this pistil contains, or the parts of this pistil are stigma, style, and ovary. Now, what will happen here? How these male reproductive parts and female reproductive parts are playing role in sexual reproduction? The male reproductive parts are having male gamete, and this anther contains the male gamete, which is known as pollen grains. Whereas this stigma, style, and ovary, or we can say within ovary, there is an ovule where this pollen grain will reach. Now, how the fusion will take place, right? So we talked about the male gamete, which is pollen grain, and in female part, the egg cells are formed. They form egg cells. Now, these pollen grains and these egg cells, they are the product of meiosis cell division. We all know that in the cell division, the meiosis contains the reduced chromosome number, or they are the haploid cells containing half number of chromosomes, right? So these egg cells and these pollens are the product of meiosis. Now when these egg cells and pollens will fuse, they will form the zygote. Now how this pollen grain will reach to the egg cell, to the most outer part of the pistil, is by the pollinating agents. They will reach by the help of pollinating agents. And pollinating agents, they can be the biotic and abiotic. And the most abundant biotic component of pollinating agent, or the pollination, is occurring by the bees, right? They are most abundant, or we can say the insects are most abundant for pollination, and they comes under the biotic components, and we also call them anti entomophily, right? So this is about the reproduction taking place in flowering plant. Now, how the reproduction is taking place? The flowering plant, the reproduction in flowering plant is known as double fertilization. It is known as double fertilization. Now, what is happening in double fertilization? When this pollen grain will reach to the stigma, these pollen grains, the gametophytes, there are two pollens. There are two mature pollens. What will happen here? One pollen will fuse with the egg cell, and this will form the zygote, which will further undergo the embryogenesis stage. Second pollen, it will fuse with the central nuclei, central nuclei, right? So this fusion is forming endosperm. Now this formation of zygote and endosperm is known as double fertilization, mode of reproduction where the gamete cells formations are taking place. Now the gamete cells which are formed in male are the sperm, and in female it is ovum or the egg cell or the egg cell. Now again these two gametes are the product of meiosis. So the sperm formation takes place within the testes, and the ovum formation takes place within the ovary. Now what will happen here? When the ovum will get mature, it will get released out from the ovary, and it will reach to the fallopian tube. Now when it reaches to the fallopian tube, when this ovum will reach to the fallopian tube, at this particular region the fertilization takes place. So fertilizations occur. Now suppose this ovum does not get the sperm to get fertilized. So along with the endometrium lining, this will come under the menstrual process. Now what will happen? The endometrium lining will break along with this ovum. So here now the secretion of progesterone takes place. So in female there are actually two hormones which they are secreting. One is estrogen, which is helping in the formation of hormone, and progesterone, which during the time of this breakdown of endometrium lining along with the ovum, this progesterone from the corpus luteum, which are the degenerated parts, they help in the formation of endometrium lining again. So endometrium lining is also going under the cyclic process, right? So these are the two hormones which are helping the maturation of ovum and as well as the endometrium lining. So I hope you are now able to understand that what is sperm, what is ovum, what are the hormones which are being secreted, right? So these two reproductive cells, when they will fuse, right? Here we talked about if the ovum will not, sperm reaches the ovum, it will be the act of fertilization. Now when the fertilization taking place, we already know that they are having a half number of chromosomes. Ovum is also having half number of chromosomes. When the fusion will take place, they will form the zygote. They will form the zygote, which is having 23 chromosomes from male and 23 chromosomes from female parent. Now the nucleus which is present within the zygote is coming from both the parents. So this is the reason that we humans are not the exact copy of our parents, or we can say the organisms which are reproducing by the mode of sexual reproduction are not the exact copy of their parents, right? So this is how the sexual mode of reproduction occurs. Now further, this zygote will undergo the stage of embryogenesis, and this embryo will attach to the uterus, and this embryogenesis, now the somatic growth and development will take place, right, where all the organs will be formed, and after 9 months the baby will be formed, right. This is how the reproduction mode and the formation of embryo is taking place, and with the personal hygiene that we have to be very particular about, right. Now, when at the age of puberty there are certain hormonal changes takes place, right. So those hormonal changes to be accepted by our body, right. So we should not get indulged into certain activities which can harm the process of getting the stimulations of proper development and growth of our body. So reproductive health is very important. So what are the things that we have to consider for reproductive health, that we have to focus on our healthy lifestyle. We have to focus on the balanced diet. We have to be very aware, right? There are certain contraceptive methods needed to be taken, like there are certain barrier methods which can prevent from unwanted pregnancy, right? There are certain surgical methods which are permanent cure for both male and female. In male, it is vasectomy, and in female, it is tubectomy, right? There are other methods, like there are oral pills. So these are certain methods by which we can avoid the unwanted pregnancy. So I hope you are able to understand the whole concept about how organism reproduce chapter. I am able to make you all clear about the concept. If you want detailed video on each of this topic, you can watch the playlist which I have uploaded. This is the revision video of this whole chapter. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please, you can also give your feedback in the comment section. So till then, take care. We will meet in the next video. Bye.